Hello everyone, welcome back to another commented run for a top 8 in a recent challenge in Vintage. Thank you so much for all of the views and commentary on Discord over our last video. I was very happy to see that it was very well received. And so here we have another one where we had a pretty good run on a challenge. Let's talk a bit about the deck. The only thing that I'm changing really here is this Wan-Shi Tong over the 4th mana drain. So Wan-Shi Tong I feel is kind of like another pretty good answer with against Manwha Initiative. Obviously, if you are able to put it in response to an initiative creature, it's going to be 2/2, give you an extra card, and also just take back the initiative. So it's kind of like giving you 2 cards, right? The card you draw from their search plus the basic that you are very likely to get through. And it can also just stall the board for a while. So I thought, why not just try it out and see where we get there. And the rest of the deck is exactly the same as the run from the showcase. That's literally the only change. One thing I like to do is just some like incremental changes. So in this challenge, I'm gonna always have in my mind that this Wan-Shi Tong could be mana drain. And that is going to be like in the situations where I have Wan-Shi Tong, I can be like, okay, would I prefer to have mana drain here or not? This is also like a silly trick that you can do if you have access to different versions of the mana drain of the cards. For example, this mana drain, if I wanted to do the reverse and be like, okay, let's go back to playing 4 mana drains, but one of them would be Wan-Shi Tong. How do you distinguish them? You can just get one with a different art style, and that would be the quote-unquote Wan-Shi Tong placeholder. And so that's kind of like a silly thing that you can do to evaluate positions in which a card would be different and see how that would play out. More things I think I learned from the showcase. I am starting to think that I need to either cut an emerald or something else in the main. Maybe it's just gonna be a mana drain for a pyroblast and then make space in the sideboard. We're really low on action against frogs, opposing frogs, and we're starting to see more main deck null rods because of the prevalence of Raker and this deck in particular as well, doing pretty well. So I've seen like 1-2 null rods even main deck, even like Dalthys. So kind of like thinking to adapt a little to what's going on in the meta, and that's kind of like the beauty of Vintage as well, where as soon as a deck starts getting more prevalent, then other decks start adding more things in the main deck, and so you have to start, pivoting in and out. I think I also am starting to put too many results, quote unquote, in Bridge, so people, when they see me, already know that I'm playing Bridge. So also important to have a little bit more of range and play around it and see, okay, well, if I know my opponent knows I'm on Breach, then what can I do about it? That sort of stuff. Before we move on to the discussion, I had a couple of things to go about. So Justin Gennari, I'm actually level 1, just posted this Vintage Open in the ELD Vintage Open. So this is just an event, a paper event in Bellingham, Massachusetts. I think I said that right. Infinite proxies, you can see the event here. I'm gonna put these links in the description. I know a lot of the crew from New York were gonna be there, so if we can make it, we still have 37 slots left, so a lot of people can come. It's very nice to get paper Vintage reps. It just really is incredible when there's like all of the community going in there. So if you are available and you can come, it's honestly pretty great. And also in our own New York City, we have this Vintage Open in March 15th. There are rumors that if we get enough attendance, there might be a piece of power for the first. Obviously, take that with a grain of salt. I'm just saying something that I heard secondhand, but it is obviously not official in any capacity. Although, of course, the more people we get, the more pricing they can get for the next one, etc., etc. So this would be at the Hex & Co. I'm also going to drop a link to the event and their Discord on the channel. And with all of that, we can move on to the round 1. All right, round 1. We're on the draw against Initiative, and this hand is a little medium, but it can also do a quite powerful start. So obviously, we got a Tolerating to Mox, Time Walk, Play Land, Merchant Scroll for Ancestral. That's just kind of like the initial line, or kind of try to get into more lands for these gifts, that sort of stuff. It's a little scary on the blind. And I keep it, but you can definitely just die on hands like this. here, knowing my opponent is on 1 initiative and on 6, I know they're gonna try to maybe go all in onto a turn 1 play, and so that's a little more scarier, but I'm pretty sure also that I can try to navigate it. So just kind of like for science, I'm gonna keep it. But again, it's important when you do these things to think about the ranges, right? So right now, what I don't want to see is Void Mirror. That's probably the scariest one, because that would mean that my Tolarian doesn't tap for mana, right? Because I cannot play Mox Emerald, and then there's very little I can do. Vexing Bubble I have covered with Mental Misstep, so I think that's all right. If my opponent has the Dragon, that also means that they are gonna take themselves out of mana, and so even though my Mox is not gonna tap for mana, I can play Mox, play Underground Sea Pass, and then from there Tolarian kind of like try to like dig out of that position. I don't want like to go like super low against initiative, because a lot of their hands are just kind of like meh, and you need to have a critical mass of cards to just play. So I'm happy to keep it, even though, you know, it's a little mediocre. Opponent goes Mox, Cavern, Archon, and obviously it's going to be an Archon, which is fine. Here I draw land, and I'm thinking that I can go just Underground Sea, then pass. If anything happens, then I can just Time Walk. I'm not sure that the Underground Sea here is correct, but I kind of don't want to commit my fetch this early, especially because, let's say, I just go Time Walk into land, land into Time Walk and then land again. This Flood Stand can give me a fetch, a basic. So here, opponent tanks for a little bit, plays another Cavern, and plays Clarion Conqueror. So at this point, a little annoying, but note that our opponent has basically no white mana. So unless they want to play another Archon or another Clarion Conqueror. And so here, because of how we tapped out, we don't have anything to do, really, other than play land pass and hope that our opponent doesn't follow up. So Vexing Bubble obviously cannot resolve, and because I need to keep life, and I'm honestly not doing anything with this blue, I can just pop it. Also, because of Archon, it's their only card, and so their only spell, sorry, and so there we go. Here we get the basic and play Time Walk. It's my only spell, so I cannot follow up. And we have a couple decisions here, like obviously I can just start playing for more artifacts so that my Tolarian taps for more mana, and I have another land lined up, so the land is definitely coming in. But if I play the land, so here's the thing, right? So if I play, let's say, Sapphire Land Pass, I have enough mana for gifts. Or I could just tap for 2, play Merchant Scroll for whatever, and then pass. And here I decide to just go for the gifts line. I think I have at least 2 more turns. And so, you know, get hit. My opponent is is getting hit quite heavily also under their own Clarion Conqueror. And now with Void Mirror, it means that also if I get rid of the Conqueror, they don't have more mana. So gifts on step. Also, just as a preface, in this few games, I'm a little distracted because I'm multitasking in the background. So I'm not going to make the best piles. I think until round 3 or round 4, I'm doing other things as well. So let's take a look at this and what is the pile that we make, and then things that we could make differently. So let's skip a little. I'm thinking like, what do I want to try and do? Do I want to try and combo? Do I want to try and go creatures? So let's take a look at the final pile. Aberrate, Demonic Tutor, Dress Down, and Wan-Shi Tong. So the idea here is that if they give me Wan-Shi Tong, I have enough mana to just go and make it bigger than their dudes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5 mana because this can get me a basic, right? Even if it doesn't, I can even just like kind of like weave in Soulguide Lantern because it's mana neutral with the Tolarian, and then I just Wan-Shi Tong for 3. I have a 3/3 on board that I can just block at least the Archon. Sorry, not a 3/3, I have 4/4, so it can stall the board. But I'm not sure if that's what I want to do. But you know, I'm also trying the card, so let's see it. So obviously Wan-Shi Tong they cannot give me, and so at that point I'm just thinking, okay, Dress Down for trying to just play cards, because Dress Down is gonna neutralize the Archon and the Clarion Conqueror. I'm gonna have 7 mana up plus whatever color I want, so this can get me other things. With Merchant Scroll I can try to get out of here as well. So that's kind of like another one. Demonic is just random just to put, and I cannot put what's his name? Bump here because I have 5 mana, sorry, 5 damage here, plus my fetch at 6, I would go to 1, so I cannot use it. And so here I just get a Braid. If they give me a Braid, I can just get rid of either Archon or Clarion Conqueror, because the Conqueror is kind of helping me, but at the same time, note that they can only play another Dragon or another Archon, right? So like their mana is a little constrained, they cannot play any more Moxen into their Void Mirror, so I'm just kind of thinking like, how am I wheeling my way out of here? There's also thoughts that even if the Wan-Shi Tong gets nuked, I can try to get rid of the Archon, play Lurrus, and then replay my Wan-Shi Tong from the graveyard and continue and keep blocking with it. Probably not the best pile. I think I had to put in the what's his name? Breach, but Breach is also like kind of difficult to make work. Again, because of how limited our things are, it's a little difficult. And here I top-deck the chain. So here, like, we are under 3 different layers of hate, and it's kind of like hard to wiggle ourselves out of here. There's ways, of course, of like just getting rid of the majority of it. So for example, we can chain the Archon and then upgrade the Clarion, and at least we have some breathing room. Because that would give us, and obviously we have to chain the Archon first, because that is the thing that lets us play the rest of our spells. I think that's what I'm going to try and do. Yeah, so I'm trying to just like get some breathing room, because this allows me to at least play. There's also this thing to think about, that now their Archon is unplayable, right? They played last turn, they didn't play a land, so they need another land to just play their Archon. And even if they do, like from here I can like maybe try to get into the Lurrus, that sort of stuff. So I'm kind of like thinking like, what am I even trying to get here? If I get my red mana for the Clarion Conqueror, I cannot play Lurrus, and so it's kind of like, what do I do? So I'm just looking at my deck, like what can I get? There's also thoughts, although it is not quite possible, of just Demonic for Breach then Time Warp Loop. And again, I'm also trying to just multitask here. So I think for a while, and I don't know why I go for Soul Guide. I think I'm just like setting up of like, okay, I'll get more mana for next turn. I'm gonna get Breach. And I think it's a mistake, because at least I would want to get rid of this Clarion Conqueror Antep. But as I mentioned, now they are locked under their own things, so they cannot replay the Archon. That's good for me. So basically that chain was almost like a time walk for me. And here I just need to start making something happen. So I am going to play Breach, and I need to get rid of both the Void Mirror and the Clarion Conqueror, right? First the Clarion Conqueror, because that will unlock 2 more mana. So I chain of vapor, the Clarion Conqueror. Just while my mana is unlocked. And here, we'll see what they do. They could copy Bounce Breach, in which case I would copy back and bounce Void Mirror, and here we're just like, you know, playing. I still have, I believe, a land drop, maybe not. Did I make a land drop? No, I didn't make a land drop. So if my Ancestral gets me a red mana, I'm just killing them. So we'll see if they bounce. Again, bouncing is a little dangerous for them as well. But so far they have Archon Dragon in hand. And so they bounce my Breach, which makes sense. But as I mentioned, this now is going to allow me to get this back. And here, because note that the chain is already in the graveyard, because this is the copy, right? So here I could also just try to chain the Void Mirror and then Force. That will give me 1, 2, 3. I would have 4 cards left in graveyard, 5 with the Force. I can pitch with the Soul Guide Lantern 6, and then I can Sapphire. Sapphire just chain again, bounce 2 of my spell, 2 of my artifacts to get more mana, sacrificing lands, putting more cards in the graveyard, and I think from here it is possible to just kill. Just with that reason. Obviously I cannot force immediately because of the Void Mirror, but I'm also thinking, you know what, maybe I don't care, because really, like, what are they gonna do? So let's do just Ancestral again. Up cards, they have a Dragon in hand that they cannot cast. They have an Archon that they can cast, even uncontrollably. I can get rid of it with the Abrade. So I'm just like, okay, maybe I can just, you know, see what goes on. But I top deck the chain, the Petal, sorry. So at this point, I just bounce it, play the Petal, and from here it's a pretty trivial kill.
because we have all the mana again, we can do the whole thing that I was mentioning. I don't even need to do this. I'm just thinking too much. It's just Merchant Scroll for Brain Freeze, play the Petal from the graveyard, and play it and kill. So yeah, I tap in and out, but like the line is very clear. Yeah, I finally see it, and it's over. I think I even saw it wrong. I got Black Lotus because I'm lucky, but like here, it's like you don't have to think this much. It just Merchant Scroll for Brain Freeze with these two. Get back the Lotus Petal with 1, 2, 3, whatever trigger you want, and then Brain Freeze yourself. And even with Petal, at this high storm, it's just a kill. And whip it. Okay, so now same sideboard as before. 2 Flusters, Misstep, Probe, Lantern, and Redirect Lightning for a couple ways of getting rid of creatures and artifacts, and just general like removal for the matchup. So here, first hand is a dud. Doesn't do anything necessarily. Like my best idea here would be like land mocks pass and does nothing. We have no follow up, and then like maybe mana drain turn 2 something, and then gives turn 3. Like that's just like not kosher, not something that I'm interested in. This hand is also very dangerous, and so I mill it because here just again Archon just puts us pretty behind. I don't want Mana Crypt to be there. I don't have defense against Vexing Bubble like I had before, and even if I do, like if this Saga gets wasted, let's say I play Saga, so let's say they do something like, I don't know, like Mox, Vexing Bubble, Wasteland, I can't get out of this. Because the Saga, in response to the trigger, they wasted. I cannot cycle the Lurians, and then my Mana Crypt cannot be played, and so it's just like very, very bad. On 5 though, I kind of like have to keep something, and here I'm just gonna be like, okay, well, I don't want to force anything because that would put me too far behind, and I can keep a hand that has a ton of mana and I stock up turn 1. Here, my opponent multi 6 into a ley line, which is fine by me, and because they show Strip Mine, I want to obviously bait that with this. Unfortunately, this plays into Mindbreak Trap, but again, at this point, there's no point not doing it. And so stock up, I already have my next land drop lined up. Merchant Scroll for Ancestral is always nice because I will have 5 mana next turn. And here I think I just want more cards. No, I won't force. Okay, so here I think my plan here is just basically you either force with Merchant Scroll and then gifts for something, or you force with gifts and then Merchant Scroll for Vamp. Sorry, not for Vamp, for Ancestral. And I decide that the Ancestral line is easier just because if there is something crazy, Tolarian plus Underground Sea. So let's say that my opponent goes, I just force this Chromox, but if they go another one and something like that, I mean, it's not likely because they would have played the turn 1. But basically something like Dragon from here, Tolarian lets me, or Nurrod, let's say. Tolarian lets me at least scroll for Vamp, scroll for Ancestral versus if my artifacts lose power, it's very difficult. And here, again, I'm like, I don't need to do much. And also just really, really, really want this Tolarian to stick. So I'm baiting my opponent as much as possible. And they missed a land drop. And at this point, it's very difficult for them to do much. They have had no white mana. Obviously, they can always top deck a Lotus and do something. But here I have my idea of just keep going with the Ancestral and keep going. I also don't want to put like, I have to be careful about what things I remove from my deck. Because these are all going to the ley line of the void, and so you need a critical mass of cards to still win. Stock up is perfectly reasonable. Here I think I would go mana drain and just a fetch, just to have a land as an action, sort of action. Right now we're a little choked on all of the colors, right? So basically, yes, I can Brotherhood's End, but for what? There's nothing to Brotherhood's End. Then there's like this mana drain that maybe gives me mana, but what am I doing with the mana? So we're not dying, but it's more because my opponent's draw was very bad than because we're doing much, right? Like our deck is kind of like struggling a little with our colors. Vexing Bubble, I really don't want to see. Any mana that I get is going to be fine. And so we continue. Get the mana and do nothing, basically, because I have nothing to use it with. This Mana Crypt, I think definitely is just like a Force of Negation because it's going to unlock them. Their hand is clearly full of 3s. And they have no mana, no lands. They just keep draw go. And so I draw go because there's nothing for me to do, really. Stock up finally unlocks me. Because I can go Bump for, what's his name? bump for chain the Leyline. At least I can feed my graveyard with some stuff and do something with it, basically. So chain up and then pass because they cannot replay it, and if they try to replay it, I'm just gonna mana drain it. And from here, I'm just waiting for the action, right? My opponent is just drawing awfully. 2 Leylines in the sideboard, and here the Brain Freeze. I'm gonna use it if possible, I think, just to Brain Freeze myself and see if I get something with this Lurrus. Peacekeeper, I'm just mana draining for the mana because it's cast off of this cavern. But this doesn't say if the spell got countered, add mana. It's just like add mana. And I'm adding mana because I'm going to Brain Freeze right now and try to fish for something, right? It also adds to the storm, so 3 spells. I could even just try to... I cannot, but like something like that. I can abrade it. I can do whatever. Like at this point, like if they name abrade, then I don't care. I move on. If they name Brain Freeze, then I abrade and Brain Freeze. So I Brain Freeze myself for 12 cards. I get Petal, which is sufficient in this board to just kill, especially with the extra mana. And off to the races we go. Again, pretty good kill. And so that's basically where we land for round 1. Round 2, on the play, this is also initiative. I know also because I googled my opponent, it's like, okay, initiative. This hand has nothing going on, so it's an easy mole. And this one, I was very excited about this hand because it really is like just trying outs for this Wan-Shi Tong, right? Have mana drain and Wan-Shi Tong in my hand. I'm like, okay, I want to try and see if this happens. So I'm just going to put back stock up, basically because in my mind, right, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to use this Petal to mana drain something, then I don't know if I want to have the mana, but also because I really want to try the Wan-Shi Tong. So maybe the stock up was correct to keep there, but no. Our opponent moves to 6, reveals Chancellor, in which case I'm just going to play my land, get Underground Sea, get Petal up. It's a little risky, but I also want to really cast this bump without having to spend my Petal. Opponent Chromoxes, Plains pass. And in this position, I'm just going to go for a recall and pass. And here I pass because mana drain, the idea here obviously is just like mana drain something big, Wan-Shi Tong for whatever, and do something with it. Opponent plays White Plume, and here I consider this was like basically the dream scenario that we wanted, right? It's just like, okay, I'm going to play Wan-Shi Tong in response, they get to fetch a plains, I draw a card and get a thing, and then from there I can just go and attack, get my basic island. So basically this Wan-Shi Tong gets me 2 cards. And I really want to try it. But I think correct here is just to mana drain because, you know, you can't do the things that you can against this deck. And also because, realistically, I could also just Wan-Shi Tong for like a bunch if I get like lands, or just really kill if I get enough mana. So unfortunately, I just decide to be a coward. I am not rewarded for my cowardice, or kind of am, because now, oh yeah, actually, sorry, never mind, this is a kill. So I just like time walk and go, and from here I just go. Pretty much demonic for the Lotus, get this back, wait a second. Sorry, 1 second. So here is fine. I think this is just, we have just, I can definitely just like demonic for Bump and pass, right? Demonic for Breach and pass. I think basically my point here is just like, okay, if I get the Lotus, I could just get this going, play this, and I have like enough mana to go. And this Wan-Shi Tong can be like a draw 1, but this is a 3/3. I also have this thought like, well, I can just Black Lotus, put it back into play, Black Lotus again. I think it was better to just go for Breach there and set up a kill, but anyway, I pay enough mana that I can Librarian, watch or see their hand. I see that they don't have like Mindbreak Trap. Sometimes they have it in main deck. And so from here, just like Breach and kill. Have all of the ingredients, and so I would just go. Same sideboard as always. Outcome the bad cards, Fluster, Soul Guide, Redirect Lightning, and the Phyrexian mana, and income all of these. Hand that is reasonable because it has a lot of lands, but it can definitely get punked. Again, you can't just always just mull for like the perfect hand. So I'm perfectly happy to keep this and see where it takes me. Our opponent has a Void Mirror Star, which is unfortunate because our Black Lurrus is dead, but, you know, we can do something with it. Here, because I get my basic, I think that I want to get a Delta, but it's also possible that it was better to just play a fetch, just in case they have an Archer and stuff like that. So here, I'm just happy to hold. Basically just countering anything they get me, because mana drain on a 3-drop means that I can Lurrus, right? Poop. Or I can like stock up twice, whatever. And here, I think I lose my mind a little. Let's see if I do. Poop. Yeah. Okay, I make a misplay here. And it's that I'm thinking, hey, I mean, the Lurrus is fine. But I'm like, okay, there's 2 Void Mirrors, so I'm just gonna drop the Lurrus. But I failed to see that actually I shouldn't do it. And the reason is that, let's say I think here like anything, I don't know, like stock up or probably not gifts, maybe Momentum Breaker. Momentum Breaker, no, because, okay, probably the Underground Sea is what I would pitch, or just stock up, one of those. The idea being that I can chain on the end step, right? That's first. Then play Volk and Underworld Breach, chain again, the other one. And from there, Lotus, and I would have 1 more mana that gets me gifts. I gifts for whatever. Gifts is quote unquote free. And from there, I would have enough to probably kill. But I dropped my Lotus because I'm like, hey, I'm never casting this, so why keep it? But I do fail to see that line. And so here I chain. And basically what I said happens, right? So in this case, if I had seen that, not only that, well, the fetch makes it even better. But here, if I had anything instead of the stock up, because it's hard to also cast it, but like I could stock up here perfectly fine. Instead of that, I could just breach, chain, and then Lotus and whatever, because also counting with the extra card that I will have in the graveyard. So I would be like chain plus 1 card in my graveyard and have the Lotus. And not only that, but if they sacrifice a land to return my breach, I can also like tap for a mana and return something else, and that adds 1 other card. So, you know, from here it was pretty. I think I just missed the idea of just chain and step and then Underworld for chain. And it's gonna cost me, because now I'm just kind of like struggling. I'm like, what am I doing? Because there's like the initiative going. My opponent has a lot of cards in hand still, even though one was just from the basic. And I decided to do, like, I don't even know. I said, okay, well, let's see if I can slow the clock down a little bit. I bounced the Void Mirror, which was completely wrong. Because if I'm not going for it, right, I shouldn't have done the chain. So here, Momentum Breaker just to get a little bit more time. And I'm starting to think of, like, well, maybe I can set up the Lurrus Momentum Breaker loop, that sort of stuff. But it's just, like, the wrong mindset, because I'm a little too far behind to make that work. Phyrexian Sensor, which is basically a strange Archon. What matters to me is that it's the Archon effect for the spells. And here, I'm just gonna go and fetch for... Should have fetched for red, pretty much. I just gain life just so that I have more cards in graveyard. But again, it's been a little bit strange. And so here I have to start thinking about this initiative, because it's gonna really mess me up if I don't play well into it. So this stock up gives us another breach, which I don't need. I'm thinking maybe Wan-Shi Tong, Librarian, and Time Walk, but obviously there's the other card that is annoying me, so Unable to Scream has some potential. As well as Long Goodbye. Could just pick Long Goodbye, Unable to Scream, but also I'm thinking this initiative is going to be ticking. So ultimately I just decide, okay, Long Goodbye, so that I can get rid of this sensor and maybe try to get back the initiative. My opponent plays a Chancellor of the Annex, which is fine. And I let them just tap, because here, this is a Phyrexian spell, so they could still play something else. So I don't want to commit before I have to. Play Long Goodbye, obviously I don't pay because I don't have mana, but it cannot be countered, so who cares? At this point, my decision to just like miss sequences started to really hurt me, because obviously I think I had a kill immediately there. And here I have to start, like, you know, finagling things that I just don't even want to think about. My opponent is going to get the skeleton, which I also failed to realize that would block my Momentum Breaker lines. So at this point I had to start looking for a kill, and the kill requires me to Chain of Vapor twice. So that is already like 6 cards, would leave me with 3. It's very hard for the chain. So getting this Lurrus, I think, is where the last chance that I had before just losing this game. I had to hold up for mana to chain, to gift for stuff, and then just get rid of the chain of paper, something like another land and what's his name? Brotherhood's End or something like that, where I just can start going. Like, I fail to identify where the game is at, and I'm playing like very strangely. My opponent plays 2 Clear and Conquerors, which I don't really care, but it is a lot of power. And here, even the what's his name? Even the line of just gifts and making the normal pile would be fine, because we can like try to deploy Lurrus or something like that with like Time Walk and, you know, kind of try to set something up. But here I'm just like not doing anything. The game was clearly not about Lurrus at that point that I bought it, and I missed my opportunity to do gifts for more cards that would help me. And so at this point it is basically very difficult, because really this gifts is not gonna get me the Time Walk, obviously. I am not entirely dead. Like, I can still get 1 turn, because they're gonna get their dude from the Undercity and then gonna punch me. But I just completely miss it here. I think I'm like very distracted on the backseat, because this doesn't do anything for me, right? Like, there's no way that I can momentum breaker loop them quickly enough that I can do it. The Seasoned Engineer is kind of whatever, but it's also not gonna be fine. I cannot block, because the Skeleton has menace and these guys are flying. And so here, it's like, okay, well, what am I trying to set up? Again, I think I'm mostly just thinking about the things that happened in terms of like the not getting the bridge line, the gifts line, and there's really nothing else for me to do. There's just too much going on, right? There's 2 Clarion Conquerors, 2 Void Mirrors. I would need like 5 red mana to be like clear the artifacts, clear the Clarion Conquerors with like Brotherhood's End, even if I had it, which I don't. So I screamed for a little, but there's just nothing here. I needed to, and I think I'm even gonna miss that. I'm just gonna, you know, unable to scream that. Even here, right? Like without the stock up, it's like, I think even my best possible thing would be something like Breach, then long goodbye, 1, 2, 3. It's like long goodbye, then put unable to scream here, and even then I'm gonna die, because this is gonna hit me for 8. I have to hope that they don't get the +1/+1 counter from the Explore. I cannot block it because obviously it has protection from creatures. Like, all in all, it's like I don't know what I'm doing. Basically, I'm gonna chain something, but at this point the chain is like innocuous. They don't send it back, which why would they? And yeah, it's just a disaster. And we draw and die. So for game 3, I'm like, okay, let's not do that again. I'm not keeping a hand that is a little meh on the play. Like, it definitely it can do stuff, but it's just like you don't do anything for 3 turns, and my Librarian doesn't tap for mana, so I need to go like fetch into Saga, into Volk, stock up, and then do something from there. It's just like too medium. So I mull to 5, and here the thought is, okay, we're just gonna try and get stuck up turn 2 and see what happens. If something super dangerous happens, we can force it. Obviously, you don't want to. I think actually I should just put back the force. But also, like, I have 2 red cards, 2 black cards and 2 red sources. So these 2 cards are basically nothing, and I'm just saying like, okay, well, am I sitting here waiting for the black source, or do I just want to force and try to control my destiny? And so for here, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna grab this and play. This is like, I'm trying to play around the Wasteland more than the Archon. Just like a choice. You can do either. Because if they play Archon, obviously the Volcanic and they're stopped, and then you lose the stock up motion. But if they have just Wasteland, then you lose your mana forever. And so here they play Void Mirror. I'm not gonna force it because I need to resolve stock ups. And from here I'm like, okay, that just means to me that you have only only creatures in your hand. Creatures and lands. They already have played their artifact. So stock up, I need to stock up for mana and for more cards, or ways to beat their disruption. So here I'm just gonna grab, obviously the 2 Moxes are void because that's a Void Mirror. So it's between the land for sure is what I'm getting, and then Dress Down or Lorien. Lurrus is more another land than anything else. This force, obviously, in my hand is completely gone, so I just need to think about how am I resolving more stock-ups, and the idea is just like dress down, right? Because prevents us, and also dress down is something loopable with Lurrus. They don't have the ley line, so it's more attractive for me in this case. Archon, kind of whatever. I just stock up basic, and here you can think about whether you want the other dress down or what you want to do. Soul Ring is also interesting, but I cannot play it this turn because of the Archon. So it's kind of like all in all, it's like, I don't know what to do. I can get more lands, but I already have 2. So I think basic is fine, and then maybe just gifts, just so that I can get more cards later. I mean, obviously, always having 2 doors is fine. I cannot play my Lurrus without this Delta. So I think for a bit, and I'm like, I don't know. I get just dress down so that I can do it again. Not sure if that's correct. But the second Archon definitely means that I have to go for something of that sort. So here, I'm just going to grab the Lurrus and pass. Of note is that I cannot do, because here I thought for a bit of like whether I could just chain something and then force it, but I cannot because of the Archon, right? So let's see where it takes me. Seasoned Engineer, obviously very unfortunate, but other than making the clock high is whatever. So here, next turn, how much are they going to hit me for? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus 1 from the Explore, so, sorry, that's 8 total, and then 9, 10. So I am still at 4. And here, I'm like, okay, I'm at 4, but I can just die. So bounce the mirror, because I know obviously they cannot replay it. Obviously it's instant, but also because of the Archons. And here I'm just going to try and make something happen. So dress down first, play my Lurrus, and it dress down first so that the Archons don't interfere with me. Play my spells, and then pass. And here I could also just like popped. Actually, no, never mind, because when the dress down dies, the Archon of Immediate effect is still up. So I cannot just, let's say, cast the dress down from the graveyard. I need to stay here. 2+1 was on counters, that's also fine. Again, I am not gonna die this turn. Unless they have exactly another one. And here I fail to recognize that. Sorry, I don't fail to recognize anything. Because they have Archon, I know they can't play another initiative creature, right? Because if they play another initiative creature, I would die. They would hit me for 6 in the air plus 5. That puts me to it's 11, so it puts me to 3. And then this is unblockable even without the Explore counter. I just die. So this I need to counter for sure. They attack me for a bunch. Gets a Clarion Conqueror on top. It's fine. And so here I need to make something happen. My initial plan here was like, okay, breach, stock up, and then we start thinking about things. Obviously, dress down needs to start first. But here, I actually get stumble into the kill. Pause for a couple seconds if you want to try and see where you get it. So here, every line that I try to make has always got to start with dress down, because that is the only way that I can play more spells, right? So attack first so that I get my life, and I also get my, get the initiative, because that's going to be important, because now I'm going to dress down so that I can play my spells. The Demonic Tutor for Time Walk and Time Walk. Boop. Now I get the +2/+2 counters, and I have enough exactly. Well, not exactly. I do 10 damage. So here, again, any line that I do has to start with dress down, but I'm going to dress down after the attack, because I need to gain life. Well, I don't need to, but it's, you know, because no amount of life. I'm either killing them or I'm not. Yep, and then dress down, Mox, Breach, and Time Walk, and that's game. Because now I'm gonna get it's actually game just as soon as, even if they got rid of the Lurrus, at this point it's game, because the Lurrus already did the job. They had to get rid of it before this, and now this Breach is just a kill. Even if they get rid of my Lurrus there with like a plow or something, I am killing them with the initiative. So a pretty nice one. Wasn't looking that great, but we stumbled into the kill. All right, round 3 against Sprouts on Lurrus. I don't know what happened. So in between rounds, I tried to move a little my streaming, my record setting, and somehow I cropped the number of cards, number of in hand, in the library, whatever. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to play without it. I'm gonna try my best to calculate based on the turns and stuff, post editing, like how many cards are in there. But for the relevant stuff, I think I remember a couple. So unfortunately, sorry for that. It will be corrected for the next video, but I didn't realize this until it was too late. So opponent is a a very good lands player. Actually, they just, I think, if memory serves, they won the Legacy Showcase with lands. So here in Vintage, I'm putting them on Frog, just because usually if you're like a Legacy player and you play that, then you're more likely to just want to play Frog if you're playing like a controlly deck, right? Which lands is. So this hand is just fine. We have a lot of options. We can just demonic for Ancestral and move on, or just demonic, try to get a kill, that sort of stuff. For now, I think I'm just going to try to develop my mana, and that's it. This Time Walk, I don't like. Because Time Walk, generally, you want to try and make a Time Walk anything better. Like, it's always like Explore, right? But like, you want to try and make it a little better than just Explore. And so, exploring here, I don't know that it makes much sense, because I'm also just dropping my Force. And I think the only reason that I'm trying to do this is so that I'm trying to set up a demonic for Ancestral on their turn before they get to do like Pierce or whatever. But I don't know that it stands to reason, and I don't like it post. I mean, I understand why I'm doing it at this point, but I don't know if I think you want to try and get more mileage out of your Time Walk. Yeah, so here demonic for Ancestral and then pass turn. And even here, I'm not even sure that I should be Ancestraling, because I have Force backup, but I don't really know if I want to do that. I think here, actually my internet dropped at this point, so I had to do some like router changes. But basically at this point, I have already Ancestraled on my opponent's upkeep and gotten, pretty okay. But my hand right now is very, very reactive. And again, look at the colors. We have one Lurrus source, let's say. So everything else is nothing. My opponent played Jet and Saga. More artifacts. So right now, I don't think I should be playing this script. I think I'm going to do it, but I shouldn't, because there's nothing happening. I am very far away from this Lurrus, and like, what am I going to do? I think maybe I want to, because this lets me play Force of Will. Yeah. I don't like this script because nothing is really happening on their side, but yeah. So my opponent plays Strip Mine, and it's going to go to my turn. So this should already tell me one thing. And it should be telling me, right now I'm thinking, okay, they're going to prioritize their constructs. And so that's fine. But then this happens. So I, at this point, should be thinking that there is a fatal push coming, because the only reason you do this right now, other than just trying to not die immediately to like the trillions of mana that I have, is so that there's a what's his name, Revolt, so they can kill my Lurrus. I get my fetch, which I didn't have before, and then I'm just gonna play the Lurrus, and I'm like, okay, if you want to tango, we can tango, and they do. And here I also just bad sequencing for my pipe, because I should be doing this second main, because I'm gonna waste the mana. All right, I need to keep 2 blue up. I waste the mana. They're still going to go answer, but why would I give them more chances? So here I'm just gonna mana drain, just so that it's the only. I don't want us not cast my, like, I don't want to pitch anything if possible, because if I untap with all this mana, I can hardcast both of my spells. Our opponent gets mana and gets a Lotus and plays Dauthi, which I found very funny, because it's like, oh, like scared of Breach, so Dauthi main deck, that's pretty sick. So I'm just gonna fight for it, and they have another one. And so at this point, my Crypt is kind of like annoying me a lot. They cannot block this Dauthi, which is good. I cannot block it either. But it means that basically every hit that I get with Lurrus is gonna clear the one from Dauthi. But I also have the script ticking, so it's kind of like not great. I Lorien my top deck, obviously using my mana and then for Supplication, which I'm also kind of like fine-ish with, just because that means it's not under the Dauthi. And in case you haven't missed it, my opponent is really, really struggling for mana. They have had Saga and Strip Mine and they had to get a Black Lotus. At this point, and just until the Force of Negation, I was wondering if it was just like powered Black Scam. But obviously Force of Negation Pierce puts them straight up in the Frog with just some Spice. play Vault Pass, which I found, you know, it's really like that. My opponents are really helping me, but look at how much I'm flooding. Where I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana and nothing to do, nothing to record, like really like very little. I just fetch here in case I get punked by a Wan-Shi Tong, and this is just gonna be basically what the game is about, right? We're just trading at this moment. Mana, like I wouldn't be attacking if it wasn't for this mana drain, because I can get ambushed. My opponent has been sitting on this forever, but at the same time I just need to make something happen. And now mana drain is under the void counter, so it means that my opponent always has access to a hard counter. So yeah, from here my opponent is gonna cruise, and then from there they have mana drain up from the Dauthi, and so there's basically just no way from here, pretty much. I need literally just to keep drawing just action and either force this Dauthi out of the board or just keep attacking, right? But like my opponent is so up in cards, they have, again, mana drain backup for anything they try to do. I'm trying my best to just force this to happen, but my opponent is not playing spells, and so anything that they can have is just like counter spells. Very risky here that they are fetching, like paying life for this Ancestral, because then one tap and they're dead. But at this point, I'm expecting like a Bowmaster block or like a Fatal Push, Dismember, something like that. I would be very surprised if I just win from here. But I get a chance. And here's a Fatal Push. And from here, it's just very hard because, again, everything that I jam, I'm trying to get the clock out. But I jump stock up, they Force of Negation, and then here they dig through time, and I just give up. So moving on, same sideboard as usual. Pyros, we get out the Mana Crypt and the Emerald because the games are going to go long. Same thing with Mind Break Trap and Force of Negation. Out with one of the mana drains, and out with this Dress Down that I added, and it has to be a Brotherhood Gen. So again, we got 1, 2, Vamp as well, because its card disadvantage often gets tagged by a lot of things. Mana Drain, Mind Break Trap, Force of Negation for these 5 cards. And so here, let's see what we open with. Hand with a lot of mana and not a lot to do, but can put together the Lurrus, a lot of mana already, again. Plus the Soul Guide loop, just to start getting up. So here I'm just trying to see what my opponent wants to do, if they want to do something or not. And then here I'm just playing things. One important thing about the order is that I want to play the Soul Guide Lantern when the graveyard is empty, otherwise I'm going to exile my own card. I want to play Land Pass, which is great news for us, because it means that they have very, very little. So I'm just going to try to gain advantage by just popping the Lantern. And I'm popping it right now, like as much as I can, just so that I can avoid the Bowmaster. So here, there's an argument for maybe misstepping this Brainstorm, but I want to try my best to just keep misstep up for Fatal Push, because this Lurrus is basically all that I have going on for now. It's drawn me like 3 cards already, 2 cards, sorry. So I'm trying to keep it up as much as possible on board. And here I just, keep drawing bangers. I'm just going to play the Lantern before anything, since I have priority, before anything can kill my Lurrus. Play stock up, and my opponent is going to Force of Negation pitching Daze, I believe. Yes, pitching Lorien, sorry. And so here, this just tells me that my opponent has a Bowmaster, because otherwise you would just hardcast this Force of Negation, right? There's no reason to lose the card for nothing. So it's very telegraphed, but at the same time, I'm not doing really much. And even though this Lurrus is good for me, I'm like, I need to attack, because I feel like I need to attack. There's no way for me to abuse this Soul Guide, and I'm feeling, okay, I'm just going to attack and trade, and at least I get to draw from the Soul Guide, and that's fine. And here, we just get lucky and spike the Force, and we just punch, keeping up Mental Misstep. Storm is 5, so if my opponent was to... No, even with my opponent Fluster Storming, I think I cannot pay. But, we could get more and more cards out of the way. Our life keeps getting higher, and theirs keeps getting lower, but they get Momentum Breaker, so the party is over. Except never mind, because we get Underworld Breach, and from Breach, we're just going to get the Lurrus party started again. Again, play the Lurrus from the graveyard, and now I'm just gonna play the, again, going for the Soul Guide just because my opponent stepped out, and so I can draw another card without fear. There is an argument here that I should just pop the graveyard because of things like Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise, but I'm greedy and I go to draw. Opponent gets a Lurrus and plays, and that is pretty weak for them, but they can try to set up this like Momentum Breaker loop, which is okay. But from here, it's basically just over, and that is because, of course, scroll. Not only scroll, but I can just keep Flusterstorm up for all the time, basically. So here on Lurrus Breach, I think my opponent at this point has 3 cards in hand. One of them is Lurrus, too. Because they've forced Force of Negation Force, so that's like 6 cards in there for my 3, right? And I've been Soul Guiding, like, I think 3 times at this point, so it just keeps going up. So from Breach, I abandon the Soul Guide at this point, and I just play Lurrus. My opponent forces, and then Fluster, and they die. And so moving on to game 3, where I am making some changes. Why? I'm thinking that with the with Douthie, I'm expecting either less frogs or maybe some pivot into the Wan-Shi Tong and stuff like that. So I'm just moving the probe out and bringing in a second dress down, because at this point dress down has a little more effect because it can stop the Douthie, at least temporarily, right? Because ultimately, like, if I can loop the dress downs, which I believe I can do against Douthie, now I can't remember the ruling on that. But maybe I could. Okay, so we keep this hand. It's okay at not dying. Needs another land to just really get going. But we can just get both basics and be relatively insulated and have sufficient to keep going. So here I just play my Mox and basically throw it into, if they have Pierce, they have Pierce. I'd rather they pierce this than everything else. And here I fetch in response just because if they have Wan-Shi Tong and they go land into land, I cannot respond unless I fetch in between there, and I just don't want to get in this situation, so I just fetch. Which is kind of like maybe not what I wanted to do, just because if you don't fetch, you have more probabilities that you're going to draw another land, and that's what I want. Cage is perfectly fine for me, and in fact, I kind of prefer it because my hand is very far away from killing quickly, and I'm in a situation where I can just try to control the board by going like stock up into stock up into stock up into lands, into that sort of stuff, right? So that's where I want to go. So I just get blues. I'm super far away from the kill, and so I'm fine keeping the cage in play for them. This is a little risky because I have already seen Days, and I also saw it game 2, I believe, and so that means that it is definitely in my opponent's deck when they are on the play. So I should have just played the Petal here. Because I'm not beating Fluster anyway, or I'm not resolving stock up through Fluster anyway, and so no reason to just get got by the Days when I have so much mana, or I have the mana to pay it. Whether I would take Petal for Days in this situation is TBD, but probably. So generally against in the Frog matchup, right, it's a little similar to PO. Like, you want your stock up to give you lands and more card advantage, right? So in this place we have a bunch of things that we can think of. Soul Guide is, it's okay, but because we cannot loop it, it's kind of like a lot less interesting. Our opponent is a little far away from cruising or from Dig Through Timing, and we have the force for it, which is basically the only things that we're going to spend our forces are either Null Rods or a threat. Like, Bowmasters is completely ineffective against us, so we don't really care. Frogs and Douthies are basically where we want to go. But even then, Douthie with the cage is kind of like gets us covered. So here I think we just pick. So here I think we just pick stock up and the land and move on with life. There's a thought for misstep, I guess. Oh, I get Mandarin. Okay, interesting. I don't think that's correct. I think I just had to. At most, I would consider misstep in case they have ancestral. And even then, I think that just stocking up and getting ahead in mana is what's going to be important. And here I think about forcing, but honestly, like, why? Again, this frog is only going to be useful on the second hit per se, and at the same, and I don't want to force into another force or into anything. So basically, I just want to hold. We want to stock up here again, and here we can get again more same philosophy, right? I should be getting lands and card advantage. So in this point, Breach is a dot because of the cage, so we don't care about that. Force of Will is not cards, especially because we are facing already like an onboard frog. So ideas here, Wan-Shi Tong as like something that I can invest in my mana drain mana, and Underground Sea. These two, backed up with Force for the Dresden at this point, and mana drain. So I think this is kind of what I pick. I might just get the Force, but I don't think that's correct either. What's the thought here? So I might just chain this frog just to move things along so that they waste the time. And then what do I want? Double Force backup, Force, and then Wan-Shi Tong as a follow-up. That's okay. I think in this position it's better to just grab the land. You want to keep going up cards, or gifts. Gifts is also fine. I don't think Force is necessary here. I don't think I don't want to get into a fight over the forces, like with forces here. So my opponent's gonna go, and I just chain the frog. They play it again. Yeah, I guess that was the philosophy of just like I'm gonna fight for this frog twice, but I don't. My opponent just lets it go, and so we get Merchant Scroll Pass. And here you could scroll for Ancestral. There's just like I'm thinking here more of like how am I losing this game, right? And I'm losing it if they resolve like too many lock pieces and I cannot get rid of all of them. But at the same time, all of the lock pieces that I care about would be like Nurrod at this point, which I have double covered, right? I have Force and I have Mana Drain. Scrolling for Ancestral is a very easy way to get clapped by Bowmaster. In this case, even double Bowmaster with Fluster backup or something like that would be very bad for me. And so maybe I could just Merchant Scroll for like either another Mana Drain or Merchant Scroll for the second chain, Merchant Scroll for gifts. I just keep the scroll. I'm also just okay-ish holding up Hardcast Force of Will. But at the same time, nothing is happening, and so we move on. Same thing here. I think here I could definitely like scroll. Again, I'm distracted through this whole half of the challenge. But yeah, we're just drawing and drawing and drawing and going and drawing. And here I'm just gonna Mana Drain first. And yeah, fight over it a little with just trading cards. With +2 mana, I have like an interesting idea with the Wan-Shi Tong, although it will die to the Bowmaster before it gets the counters. I let the Lotus resolve because I don't really care even if they play Lurrus. Here, definitely I cannot let this happen, and so because I want the Wan-Shi Tong, because I'm gonna get 2 mana from Mana Drain, I am ready to invest my Petal and my Fluster to stop this from happening. My opponent hardcasts the Force, and I just Fluster. And here, my opponent is F6'd because they would have fetched in response. So I play my Wan-Shi Tong for 4, I draw my 2 cards, and from here I have a big threat that I can defend at least once with the Force. I don't care about the Soul Guide because at this point my plan is just to protect this Wan-Shi Tong and just kill. Again, this Underworld Breach has been in my hand from the very beginning, and it's kind of useless because obviously of the cage, but it's also stopping my opponent from like looping anything, and so I'm also happy with that. Fetching here, and more Moxes. Here I'm just gonna get the Lurrus, but honestly, I think this is just wrong. I should be holding up like, because this Saga is not gonna come online fast enough for my opponent. The constructs are gonna be 6/6s, right? But this is not gonna come fast enough for my opponent. I'm killing them in 3 turns, and they cannot attack with this Lurrus, right? Because I just block and I kill. Even if they hit me for 6 and they hit me for 12 again, well then they would kill me. But at that point, I would have the mana to just deploy the Lurrus because we would have traded blows a couple times, that sort of stuff. So I think at this point you just want to hold up Force Pyro, because I don't want to pitch to this Force. And this Wan-Shi Tong can die to a lot of things, so I want to be able to defend it if possible. Okay, so my opponent passes, get the land. Attack again, so they're at 4. Again, this Lurrus, very unnecessary. So my opponent fetches, well not fetches, but they are forced to search because of Saga. I draw my Upgrade and Time Lock. Obviously this cannot resolve, otherwise they can, this construct is bigger than my Wan-Shi Tong, and so, well, it's equal, so, and I'm not willing to trade. And here, I think my opponent has a couple cards in hand right now, I don't remember, but I'm like, whatever. they're gonna draw. They're gonna get at least one more turn, and I can set up some stuff. So for example, here, right, I could have just eaten the Lurrus, upgrade this guy, and then kill, right? So one thing that I can do here, in a way, is just tap, upgrade, kill this. And if that happens, then I can just block, eat this guy. My opponent goes to 7, and I hit them for 9. It's a little weak against a wasteland, against fatal push here, in which case I would have to force, and if they have something. So it's kind of like, you know what, this Lurrus is kind of useless. Might as well just trade with theirs. Because I'm not attacking with this Lurrus, right? So if I'm not going to attack, I have to block. My opponent pops the bubble. And, oh, sorry, I forgot that there was a bubble from the saga, so never mind about the force. And so at this position, I can actually just abrade. And I abrade the... what's his name? I abrade the cage instead of the construct because I am feeling like, okay, there's enough... it's enough of a kill pressure, so now I want to give my opponent another problem. Because now I'm going to just breach. And gain a lot of advantage, right? Because I have stock ups that I can cast at least once, and that's gonna give me a bunch. But I can also just go petal into a braid. So literally, I could just like abrade twice, right? And even sneak in like a petal with a stock up or something like that. Like I have enough here that I just kill. All right, round 4 against Magic Dads. I know them from Legacy. They played a lot of Reanimator, but also a lot of like Stompy decks. So just basically like all in decks. So I'm expecting either Dredge or Mono White Initiative, and this hand is fine against either on the play. I cannot cast my Vamp, but I do have a turn 1 stock up that can help me set up my mana. And, you know, Dress Down Chain for, you know, permanents and creatures, and Vamp for usually is going to be just Ancestral, but it could be something else. Regardless, we set up, cast turn 1 stock up, and against Unknown, here I just want obviously a black source so that I can play my Vamp, and also like something else. Here, if I'm worried about Mono White Initiative and or Dredge, I should try to set up a kill as quickly as possible. And because I cannot hold up mana drain, I think I'm fine to just take the gifts, especially with so much mana right now. And also because I am not, you know, super dead to a Clarion Conqueror because of the chain and the dress down. When it marches the Sol Ring, which is pretty good, but at the same time, I'm like, you kind of want to put pressure immediately. This basically just tells me that they don't have a Clarion Conqueror. So I'm fine. You know, I lose 2 mana, but I also got a turn with my opponent doing very little. And now I also have Dress Down as a way to stop the initiative. So I tap the mana and go. And here we can do pretty much whatever. Depends on what my opponent does. I'm not forcing, or I'm not doing anything about this Lotus. My opponent plays a Seasoned Engineer, and so I just stop the initiative from happening. And here I'm just gonna Vamp. And here I'm thinking, and I'm like, maybe I can just Vamp for Lotus and go Gift Skill. So that's probably what I'm gonna try and set up. In fact, I'm pretty sure, especially with gifts. I have about enough cards in graveyard to get it done, especially because this chain can help me do a lot. So yeah, here I'm counting. I just make the pile with the Time Walk. I don't need to... Yeah, I don't need to put Lotus because, Lotus is already in my graveyard, and so I'm getting Mana Crypt. And here I'm just thinking basically like, anything you give me, you just die. If you give me Time Walk, you die. If you give me Breach, you are also dying. If you give me Demonic, is the Demonic and... Like, if you give me Demonic, you don't die immediately, because Demonic would have to get me, you know, there's not enough there to just go. But obviously they don't know what is in there, because I know that this Chain of Vapor is worth +1 mana, and the Time Walk is also sort of +1 mana. There's a way that this Mana Crypt should be a Tolarian, but basically, no matter what my opponent does, they're pretty screwed. And so they give me Crypt Demonic, which is fine. I think it's basically the only one that doesn't just immediately die. But here I just grab the Breach. I just get enough cards. I think I have enough from here. Yeah, Lotus can get cast, and then I float 3 black, play Demonic, and then what's his name? I grab yeah, whatever. I don't even need to actually. Just Lotus is fine. Actually, yeah. I when I was doing the pile, I think I was thinking about this. But basically, because I have this Merchant Scroll, if they give me, they would have to give me like Demonic Time Walk, and even then, I think they just die too, because then I just Time Walk, pass, and then Demonic for Breach with 3 cards. I think when I was making this pile, I wasn't thinking that I'm getting 3 more cards in the graveyard, and so I'm gonna have 7. 7 is enough to play my spells twice, and so that's fine. And again, here I can just chain, do a lot of stuff. So basically, this pile is fine. There's probably a better one. Anyway. So here, same as always, we are getting rid of the Fluster, the Soul Guide Lantern, Phyrexian Spells, and Bamp. Sorry, not Bamp, Redirect Lightning. I hope I did the change. Yeah, Redirect Lightning. And then Brotherhood's End, removal, and ways to get rid of either creatures, temporarily or permanently, and annoying permanents. Opponent is going to 5, and my hand plays fine. Again, I have a turn 1 stock up. Depending on how I want to sequence things, I also have a turn 1 long goodbye. But this hand is perfectly fine. Move to 5 to me means that my opponent is going for a ley line, and they don't get it. And so here they just go to 2 cards and on just Peacekeeper. And this game is very strange because right now I'm feeling very, very comfortable. My opponent has 2 cards left in hand. They're ancessoring me, but sorry, they're peacekeeping me, but like there's just nothing really going on. For them, that's just really not a lot. I get even more mana. And here, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need to long goodbye something. But I should have stuck up, like straight up. Just stuck up, pass, get more cards, maybe a force if you need to. I don't know why I'm keeping mana up. I'm gonna use this long goodbye now that I get wasted. But I just lost my black for no real good reason. And then Seasoned Engineer comes in, which, had I stocked up, I would have had the... Obviously, I would have played Island instead, just to safeguard my mana. And in fact, it's because I was, if I was going for the stock up line. And here I would have had the force for the Seasoned Engineer. So I get hit, stop. And this is where now not having stocked up is kind of annoying because I can't really give them the Seasoned Engineer. They have no cards in hand other than the planes that they just got. And so if I stock up, I am letting them try to like curve out their mana. They're going to hit me for 6 probably, and then for 11. And so that is almost lethal. So I need to at least stop the bleeding a little bit. Unable to scream is fine. And because I slowed their clock so much, they go for the scry, which means that I'm not going to lose 5 life to the trap, which makes me very happy. And here, unfortunately, because, again, of how I've been sequencing this game, I am cold, very cold to the Clarion Conqueror, and I have to lose my stock up for it. And now we're in the situation where, like, my hand is non-functional. I did this to myself. My opponent rolled to 5 this game, as a reminder. Also, because Unable to Scream does not remove the types, this ability still triggers. And I am very dead, in fact. Because here, at the most, I can just play the Lurrus and try to, I don't know, do something long goodbye, whatever. My opponent gets the Chancellor, which is the usual suspects. I'm a 10 and I just draw nothing. But again, I could have, I was the owner of my own destiny in that one. I should have just played it a little different. I got very like tunnel visioned on the long goodbye on that dude when it was nothing. Like realistically, you don't need to because also the Peacekeeper was naming something that doesn't affect me whatsoever. Right, it was naming long goodbye, whatever. I think the only reason is that at this position, I could just get got by Clarion Conqueror if they play it because I cannot long goodbye it, but then the Wasteland still covers it, so I had unable to scream 2 for it, so yeah, I was overall pretty badly played by me and my opponent pulling a heroic and coming back from mult to 5. So now I'm on the play, and again, I have not a turn 1 stock up, but an okay hand that plays decent magic, has basics, has mana, has a piece of Moxen. My opponent skipped 7 and has just the Chancellor, which again, I'm very happy to not see the ley line. And I can play through it a little. So I can even, yeah, I survived this. And so for me now, I'm like, okay, I want to try and bait this Wasteland. And usually when there's one Wasteland, there's another one. And so I'm going to be like, okay, what land do I want to keep? Do I want to keep the Saga? Do I want to keep the Tolarian? For now, I'm just going to go, okay. I'm going to see, draw another land, so that's great. And here, I cannot hold up mana drain, but I'm feeling like mana, especially because of this Tolarian, which at this point is looking like the card that I want to make survive the Wasteland Barrage. So I'm just going to go Pearl, and I think just more stock-ups. Which maybe is a mistake because of if I had gotten, what's his name, Gifts from this position, Tolarian is +2 mana, so I have 6, and Gifts with 6 is just a kill. And with 7 is even better than a kill. I mean, obviously I don't have 6, but you know, with 5 it's also still pretty fine. So I stock up again. Probably too many cards, to be honest. But here I can either be like, okay, when I can get a Lurrus and Demonic, Lurrus and Demonic, and just go from like a Lurrus rotation of like Momentum Breaker or whatever. Really, the world is my oyster here. I think there's no bad picks. Breach Lurrus is not a kill because I didn't grab the gifts. Had I done it, this was very close to a kill. But I think I'm just going to be like, probably Lurrus Demonic. Plays well into most things. And because of, yeah, exactly. Because of the Lurrus gives me the mana, I can just play Lurrus with this. I'm playing very much into Mindbreak Trap, but I feel like even if that happens, my hand is pretty stacked already. My Lurrus gets killed, which is sadness, but it's what it is. Still have a ton of mana, and in fact, I'm just probably killing very quickly if my opponent isn't careful, and they just play a Dragon Pass. So here we can just, unable to scream it. We can do a lot of things. So from just killing straight up, because Demonic for Breach, and then we have a lot of stuff, like infinite mana basically. Just go. If I want to take a more conservative line, which I don't, because I just don't believe that they have it. But should we want to play a more conservative line, from here you can, like, not only do you just get Breach, but you can just Breach for the Lurrus, and the Lurrus gives you other things. You could just also just like Demonic for Wan-Shi Tong for 4, and you know, you just like basically clapping them. Even without the, well, I had to unable to scream because otherwise I don't get the mana. But yeah, like from here it's pretty much winning no matter what. All right, round 5. My opponent plays either Raker or Initiative, so I'm putting them on Raker just because I'm seeing a lot of Initiative lately. So probably a change of space, but it's also like this hand is good against either. And by good I mean like it's fine, right? Tolarian is like not a land right now, so basically I'm normal to 6, so I have like Force with Mindbreak Trap, hope to get a second land and do something from there. I'm gonna play land. My opponent plays Factory into Monolith, so they have 4 mana. Right, obviously it's Raker. That's not even more Raker, so I just force pitching the Lorien, and it's Lorien because I actually don't, like, you know, I have a couple draws to get a land. We're gonna exile the what's his name, the Sensitive Divining Top, and it's basically just to cash it in. I'm very far away from just hard casting it, and yes, getting rid of their top is important because it filters the doors and stuff. They would need another mana source to do it, but that's not hard for them to do at all. So just another land like Talon Gates is like sufficient for that to happen. I'm lucky enough that I top deck the mana so that I can stock up. And I stock up with Tolarian because the red already gives me the other color. And if I get more artifacts, this Tolarian is going to compound. So here there's not really much for me to pick. I already have lands. The Scalding Tarn could get me the black for Lurrus, but right now I'm just mostly concerned about not dying. And indeed, I have to just pop it. And I do force instead of force of negation because I don't want them to. I don't want to have a ring on exile in case they drop a card next. Saga, here I'm just like clearly showing that I have nothing. Librarian for Tezzeret, Soul Ring, and then Tezzeret is gonna get either Soul Guide or Top. Soul Guide, so they are reading me on Breach, which makes sense because I have a lot of results now with the deck. But I think like maybe Top was better there because this strands you a little bit. If you want to get the Top now, your Tezzeret dies. So yeah. Anyway, I play Crypt and pass. I'm just like not playing this Volk because I can still at least pretend that I can hardcast a Force of Will, right? Because of Librarian. I could tap the Saga with the Crypt to make a construct, and then Librarian taps for 3, 4, 5 with the Ruby and the C, and then I can hardcast a Force and play my construct. That's what I'm trying to at least represent. Obviously, you and I know that there's nothing going on for me. Top into Flash Raker, top, and then here, if they find the top, it's going to be over for me. Second top, or what's his name? Mystic Forge. They get a ring, they keep going. So here I'm more like, I'm not dead until I'm dead, so let them do whatever. I can get to see more cards. Sometimes they play something silly. And I just see Chalice, and that's fine. I'm like, okay, well, I get a turn. I doubt that this game is going to be about the constructs, especially now that they have so many. They're going to make a lot of spawns, at least one per turn minimum because of the Senses running top, but they also have this ring popping. So I'm like, okay, this is not going to be about the construct. Get mana. Thinking maybe Soul Guide just so I can draw a card, but Lurrus in case something happens. I have to probe myself because I cannot probe my opponent because of the protection. And here I just like give up and move on. So, Raker. Interesting matchup. I don't think we found one in the other one. Basically, you're just going to pop the Islands, Flusters, and Soul Guides because they don't play anything from Graveyard. They don't play anything from that is like Flusterable. Some versions play PL. I didn't see one, so moving on. And then we're going to bring in Brotherhood's End. Not Dress Down, I think it's, Chain. Chain for the Karn. Pitting Needle for either the Ring or also Tezzeret, Karn, that sort of stuff. Top is also important. Brotherhood's End basically just deletes the board. And Long Goodbye as like a one-off way to get rid of the other Flash Raker. Here is where the change of Unable to Scream for Bolt is a little, it's hurting us a little because I would bring Bolt in this matchup. I would probably just cut a Redirect Lightning here. Or a Gitaxian Probe, but basically not having another instant speed removal is a little annoying. I could just bring the Dress Down if I think that I'm at risk of dying, but I stick with this. So yeah, on the play. This hand's fine. Doesn't do anything spectacular. Actually, it's not fine. It's probably just too weak. I think at this point I would just definitely mulligan this card. And I'm all into like basically the nuts again. So turn 1 stock up with Ancestral Follow-Up. And here I am getting a little too greedy. My opponent paused for a second here. And I should know that they are going to play. Because if I think about it, right, like Raker cannot play No Rot. They can play Graphic Cage, but it's a little annoying for them because it invalidates their Forge. The one way that they can kill or beat combo is Trinisphere sometimes and also Mindbreak Trap. So here I am already playing into Mindbreak Trap. So why I should just not stock up, and I stock up into Mindbreak Trap, which is like, okay, I don't want Ancestral in response in case they have another one. And so I'm just going to be like, okay, pass. But here, it's hard to do it sometimes, but here you have to identify that, especially having the Ancestral, right? It's just kind of like annoying because you want to try to get like Force Blue card to have also Ancestral on top of whatever they do because of how much they can F you if you draw wrong. But here I draw okay. We're not dead to anything per se. Even if they play like a Ring, I can just bump for Pithing Needle, and then the ring is like a small clock of sorts. I'm definitely gonna vamp here. The question is, what am I vamping for? Could vamp for gifts, and we can hold up Force of Negation. If nothing is required for Force of Negation, then we just go. Also interesting here, Wan-Shi Tong, again, in case they just shuffle something. Could try to, if I had another red, I could think of Brotherhood's End, because I would delete 4 of their artifacts, but also 3 of mine. So it's kind of like we're in a situation where like Brotherhood's End is not that good. Hercules Recall is also a thought, just to not immediately die. But I think Gifts is fine. We can hold up Force of Negation for a big thing that they play, and if they don't do anything, then we just Gifts. They pass without doing much, and so here I'm just not even sure what I'm reading them on. I forget how many cards they had, but it just has to be something like a lot of lands and just Mindbreak Traps, and they just kept on the virtue of the Mindbreak Traps. So Gifts for a normal pile. There is a thought that this pile should be a value pile. And by value pile, I mean it would be Time Walk, Stock Up, Gifts, and probably another Mana Drain. And the reason for that is that it's not really clear what is going on. I don't think that I can kill them that quickly, and they are doing nothing, which means that like on this hand, right, they can play all of their spells. The only thing they can play is if they only have lands, or if they have like a Mindbreak Trap. And so I'm so low on resources that I cannot play through Mindbreak. Like I cannot try to kill them through Mindbreak Trap, especially because there is this, what's his name? There is this Vexing bubble. So even if I go through, they just pop the bubble and then go Mindbreak Trap. And so there's a thought here that I'm like, okay, if you only have Mindbreak Trap, then what I should be doing is trying to like accumulate more resources than what you have, right? I already have you covered with Force of Negation. And so something like, yeah, Stock Up, even Lurrus here, because I can also cast the Lurrus. But yeah. So yeah, I think this chain, this demonic, I'm trying very hard to make a kill happen. And I think what I should just try to be doing is just like grab more resources and go. Even Wan-Shi Tong is fine. They're not giving it to me, but just a value pile. I think this is just too anemic. Because I'm also trying to make a pile where I can get Hercules Recall with either Merchant Scroll or Demonic. So obviously I cannot put Hercule in the pile, because obviously they're just going to send the graveyard. And because I don't have my 3 tutors, I also cannot put Demonic, Scroll, and Bump. So they end up giving me Chain and Merchant Scroll, which means that I am very likely able to deal with all of their nonsense. But at the same time, I feel like this was like a missed opportunity for me to just try and make something bigger happen. So yeah. Now, I said that I can't play around Mindbreak Trap, and that's not necessarily true, because Redirect Lightning also works with Mindbreak Trap if they have exactly one target. And because they are likely only just going to do it on one of our spells, except if we Brain Freeze, right? So another land pass, so I am very curious about what's in my opponent's hand at this point. Braid is great. And also they have this Crypt ticking, so I'm like, okay, well, I can kind of like hold. And the more I watch this, the more I think that it was correct for me to just go for a value pile, because I am missing land drops, and I don't want to. So a Braid, Punch, just so that I have something to do. And here, in case I get the kill, I can just try to go for the kill. Here we just get Saga, which is great, Breach, and more Stock Ups. Definitely I'm gonna pick the Saga because I'm down cards a couple times. Force, now that the Vexing Bubble is out, is relatively okay. I also have Force of Negation. I think Saga Force, just so that I don't die. And here I'm just switching to, okay, I just need to stop you because you haven't played anything, right? So we have to also think about, like, if my opponent just has, defense, quote unquote, like, let's say it's like 3 Mindbreak Traps. I forget how many cards I have in hand here, but it has to be like 4 or 5. Or is it all just lands? Then the Saga is my way to victory. I'm going to try very hard not to lose my... I was about to say not lose by Force of Negation, but I just pitched it. Here I think it should be Force. And the only reason that... Actually, no. Force of Negation is fine, even though if they get the card. Because Force of Will stops the... Force of Will stops their Raker. Okay. And here they just... Sorry, what happened? Oh, we just made Lander pass, yeah. Because here there's a very funny thing that we can do, and in fact it's gonna be it's funny to me. It's just like pointless. But here they just get their top, and they're gonna try to do the top, untap, draw, and things like that. So here, this is questionable. But I'm like, okay, well, you haven't drawn anything, so I'm just gonna try and get a little bit more value. And the reason is that now I'm gonna redirect this to my Soul Ring. So they draw one less card, but also this gives me enough mana to just make a Saga construct and my Force of Will. So here, I could have forced, by the way, but I know that they are drawing it, and also like I'm not forcing because I have the Long Goodbye. They play the card, and now I cannot force, and I want to make the construct actually. So I'm just holding this mana up. If I'm my opponent, I think you want to start passing. Here I just make a construct. I'm going to make another construct, of course. And here I get Needle because the only thing they have going on is top. I can play Mox and force Hardcast. So whatever they have. And they also have a Crypt ticking. So yeah, they see the writing on the wall and move on, which I agree. So a little bit of a strange one. It's TBD if the lightning was a good idea or not there, but it was funny, so I did it. It is also one of the things that, because I know I'm recording, it's one of the things that I always talk to the group of like, yeah, against Raker, you just do this and untap your own Soul Ring, blah, blah, and just because I could do it, I'm not doing it. Anyway, let's move on. So on the draw, this hand is great. Well, great. It's okay at not dying, right? Because usually they're going to sell it at least 2 or 3 times. And this at least protects me until I can mana drain. And with this mana drain, I'm going to get the Lurrus. It would be much better if this Volk would be something else. Sensei is a very important card, so I'm just going to go after it. Especially because Ancient Tomb, if this was like, what's his name? If this was Mishra's Workshop, I would still just misstep it. But the thing is that the Ancient Tomb is mana they can actually use to filter their draw, so I just don't want it. And again, Grafdigger's Cage stops me from looping my Lurrus and killing them, quote unquote, but it also stops their Mystic Forge, which means that if I now get Needle and I name the ring, most of the 4s are gone and they don't do anything. So another 4s I have like, if it's a great poker hand, and I'm just gonna, force just to survive, and then here just play mana and hold up mana drain, right? There's no need for anything else. I here just fetch in case they have something like K command that I want to be able to mana drain, something on instant speed. Stock up is fine because I feel like I am not dying anytime soon. And here it's Saga for sure. I don't care about this cage right now, and Saga gives me the plan, so I can do Saga. Time Walk is also interesting because it can help me just kill them out of nowhere. Between Time Walk and Stock Up, it's whatever, so long as it's a blue card, so I can force twice. So I decided on the Time Walk, which is fine. It's going to be a little awkward depending on what happens. My opponent just plays mana and passes. Here is like, I think for a while, if I just want to go like demonic for, because here I can demonic for like Lotus and just like Time Walk. Like I'm thinking about like, what do I want to do something with this demonic? Like, I want the Saga to work, right? So I'm like, do I just demonic for like lands, demonic for like Tolarian? Like you can spend tapping and tapping here for a while, and ultimately I just go for Tolarian just because it's more mana long term. So basically here I'm just like, okay, even if I cannot make a construct, right, I can just be like, okay, I just force something or just force pitch mana drain, and then the next one is worth. But again, or rather, sorry, the other way. I can force pitch force and then make the Saga because they haven't played anything, right? Like they had last turn they had 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They had like a ton of mana, like a lot, and they weren't playing anything, and they can play all of their cards. And so at this point, I'm like, okay, well, if it's just more Mind Break traps, I don't really care. If they top deck something that I need to force, I can just force it and then make a top constructs and make constructs with my red, and then my Tolarian taps for 3, it taps for 4, so it's almost enough for the force. And now here is where I mentioned before that I want to try and use this Time Walk to make something happen. And so that's what I'll do. I'll tap for 4. And now just get the Lurrus because I have the time. And if I hit them here for 8, they cannot tap both of their Ancient Tombs. Now I hit them for 10, so it means that it's basically a double wasteland on top of that. And so I attack. And here they put in the Talon Gate, so they're going to take 9 less damage. No, 6 less damage. So still in dire straits, especially because they're just not doing much. Inventor Sphere, whatever they get here, I'm just countering. Here, I think it should actually just be Force. The reason for it is, I mean, this Tolarian also is not tapping for 5 now, it's tapping for 4. But I think Force is better just because it's more expensive, and that will let me do more things. If, you know, if this game were to go longer and I need to force something else, maybe just the Force of Will is better, because then I can like force and like, I don't know, whatever. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. It's possible that it's fine. But here is, again, this reasoning of not forcing the cage, and just thinking about like ways of winning the game. Here we beat, I think both games against Raker, we've beaten them with Saga instead of comboing through. So always keep in mind like how you can win the game. Not only is it just like blind going for the combo, which I also sometimes guilty of. I'm more thinking about like different ways to kill. Round 6, we're 5-0 here, so even if we lose, we can classify for, like, we're already locked in for top 8. And that's a thought sometimes of just like, you know, dropping so that your opponent doesn't know what you're playing. But if you were to search for me, you'd see a lot of Breach lately, so there's no reason for me to conceal it. And they play a variety of decks between Sultai and Bug, so I'm like, okay, I want to at least get some information. And also, if you go 6-0, you're top seed for the entire top 8, so you're always on the play, which with this deck is very important. So my first hand against a Lurrus is quite nothing. I have just misstep that I can play. Everything else is non-existent. That to a wasteland, so obviously just not keep it. Here I see a hand that's fine. I think I'm just gonna put either back the Force of Will or Breach. Because Force of Will, again, it's like already you went down a card. I'm on the draw though, so maybe it's interesting to keep in case they're like PO or something like that. But I also feel like card disadvantage. Why would I want it? I think this game is going to go long. And it seems like I was correct. Play land, play Mox. Mox is not usually like... The reason I'm sequencing it this way is that the Mox is usually less attractive to peers. You want to play something big. And I play the land first in case they daze. Here, I'm just thinking, do I just Demonic for Ancestral or do I just chill? I have not really that much information, but going for Ancestral is usually fine. And if they fetch, I'm just going to go for it now. The reason for this is multiple reasons, but obviously it's like, A, I'm dodging Bowmaster, B, I'm dodging Pierce, I'm dodging Fluster. Even though I'm playing into Mindbreak Trap, it's not a Mindbreak Trap. Well, Mindbreak Trap, yes, but also Force of Negation. I'm just going for it, and I'm successful. My opponent surveils, and this just tells me, like, Surveil is usually just Frog, although there are some Breach versions that play it. Wasteland obviously puts us on the Frog, and then they get the Lurrus and they don't play it. Which to me means that they have to have some sort of like Pierce, Fluster, or they're holding up Force of Negation, that sort of stuff. But I'm perfectly happy to keep going. I am going to Bamp here for, I think, Lurrus and just try to kill. Because we have Fluster backup and they are tapped out except for the Lurrus, right? So if I'm going, I'm just going. I have all of the tools that I need. So get Breach first, and then just go. My opponent just scoops. But here, obviously, you know, there's still some play to be made. Like if they do some, because of gifts, I can just like, I can gifts in response to whatever they do and get like 2 counter spells. And then Fluster. Plus, then I would have like, how many cards? Like 3, 4, so 9 cards in graveyard. I can just play Lurrus again. Worst case scenario, I'm Ancestor into time. So, like, yeah. Just scoopsies and we go. Okay, so having seen very little, but I'm putting them on Frog immediately. So, everything that we do for Frog, we bring the Pyros and the Reps. We get rid of Mana Drain, our bad rocks, because again, the games go long. They play Bubbles, they play... no rods, that sort of stuff, so we want less of that, and the game is going to go again long. We just want to get rid of either their Frogs so that they cannot catch up with us, or their Lurrus so that they can't loop things, and or Wan-Shi Tongs, Douthies, all of those annoying things, plus all the new rods, cages, Tormod scripts, all of that stuff. Okay hand. Nothing spectacular. My opponent probes me and sees me. And we get the Lotus, so I'm just going to show it. Again, I want to try my best to at least play around some cards. They pierce me. I force. Because I feel like this mana is going to be important for me. They force Suffocation. So I'm like, okay, well, if you care about it, I care about it. And I have a way to replenish from here, right? It's like demonic for Ancestral. My opponent misses their land up, so they have to fetch, and they surveil to try and find the third one. So I'm thinking like, okay, well, maybe there's like Twister in their hand or something. And that's why they went that gang-ho on the mana, because they are going to restart. Here I get stuck up, which I prefer to going for demonic into the other, mostly because of misstep. We miss quite significantly. I think here best would probably be just like stuck up a parade or something like that. I don't think they have many cards in hand right now. Again, I wish I hadn't corrupted, but I would say like after Force and all of this, they should have like 2 or 3. So a braid also covers the frog on top of the no rod, but I get chain. I guess makes sense because if I had to braid, I have to commit my petal, which is not necessarily something I want to do. And the dig through time, which is sadness, but what can you do? I think at this point my opponent has 4 cards in hand actually. So here I stock up. My opponent forces, and I have the Pyro that I just probably was lucky to draw. Pyro does mean to me that they don't have the misstep. And here, I think there's a kill. Let's see if we find it. But I think like Lotus and that just kills right now. I think my opponent scoops, but let's think about whether this is a kill or not. And I think there is, right? So because I just play, I don't have to, but basically the fact that they let me stock up to me tells me they don't have a second one. I think they had 2 cards in hand at this moment. So Breach just kills, right? We have 9 cards, which means that we can Lotus Demonic, and then we have 1, Lotus for black, then black Demonic for the thing. Actually, we might be short 1. Our opponent isn't necessarily dead, right? So Lotus gets these 3 cards, then pop Demonic with these 3 cards, and then my graveyard has 3 cards. So yeah, I don't actually have it here. Unless I can try to get cute, I guess, with chain. So if I try to get cute with chain, so 3 for the Lotus, then pop for blue, chain my Soul Ring, then sack a land. I have 2 more cards. I play the Soul Ring. I have 2 blue floating, and then 2 more cards in graveyard. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I can demonic from there. I think I have just enough to go. I'm pretty sure I don't, but my opponent scoops it, and we go again. Look at this and think about it. I think there's I don't have it from here. This is something that sometimes a lot of people do. It's just that they see the line, they see that you casting things, and they just give up, which is fine because also my opponent is in on top 8, like no matter what. If you're tired as well, it's just like, why try to fight it when I have to not only win this game but also win the next one? And who cares? I already got the information that my opponent is on Breach, so moving on. Okay, top 8 against our Raker opponent from Swiss. And if you recall the video, like the previous match, the only reason we won really is that our opponent had very bad hands. So we are somewhat unfavored, I would say. It's kind of like a coin flip in a way because they have a lot of pressure, a lot of kill pressure. And unless you have like very fast hands that can hold up like multiple mana drains and just go up in cards all the time, you are going to die very quickly, especially because my deck doesn't play Consign to Memory, my version at least. So it's dangerous. This hand is great though. I can just hold up, I can play Time Walk into untap just so that I can hold up Force of Will and Dress Down, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Usually I advocate for making Time Walk be a little better than just Explore, but in this matchup I know that they are going to jam at least a couple times, and I don't want to just be pitching to Force of Will, especially when I have so much mana advantage, right? Have a lot of mana advantage, but that costs me cards, which means that I need to use my cards and not lose other cards. So here I just play Librarian just because it is a little better later, so I don't have to like think about playing more of that. Underground Sea also covers me with the Force. A scrolling crawler is not something that I want to force because I can take a couple hits before I die, and honestly, my hand is not that much of not that much action. I can always use the Lurrus to try and like punch a little through, and so I want to get at least one card out of this crawler. I'm gonna pay 5 life for it, which is a lot of life, but I need just a couple cards, I think, in this situation to just kill. Dries down into scroll, and from here, the dries down is kind of like just so that I don't take a little bit less damage, and in case I get like a Ancestral or a Lorien or something like that, or I just want to try and go for it a little, it's gonna at least prevent me from taking too much damage. Here, there's a lot of ways, and I think there's just like a kill if I want to go fishing. And going fishing in terms of like, okay, I just play Merchant Scroll and I play Breach, and then I brain freeze myself a couple times. I can take a couple time walk turns. I played wrong actually, because here I was supposed to just Breach. If I'm gonna do this line, I should just Breach. Because again, and the reason why this is quote unquote fine is that I can just time walk and try again, basically. Not sure that I would recommend going this gung-ho for it. I get lucky and I win. I have a force backup for the Mindbreak trap if they have it. But it is possible. It is definitely possible that here you just have to, how much mana? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can just like Lorien and or just like you could Lorien, Merchant Scroll, Breach for Time Walk, that sort of stuff, or you can just like try to develop your board a little bit more. I can also like scroll for gifts and gifts for like a value pile, or just gifts for removal. Like there's a lot of things that you could do. Even in this position, like a gift for cards that can deal with this recursively, like a Breaker. I don't think I have one to Breaker, but things like you know what I mean. Like I got lucky. I mean, I pushed for that, but yeah. Anyway, so here, because I saw the crawler, I am going to make a little adjustment compared to Swiss, which is basically just to bring in this unable to scream over the probe, and just to get a little bit more mileage against the crawlers. This hand is all right. It's a little soft to an all-in, but I think that because I have also like a turn, like game 3, I'm gonna be in the play. If there is a game 3, I'm fine keeping this. My opponent goes basically almost all in. I think they have like 2 cards left. They want to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 2 cards left. And if it had been key, I would have just died. So it was pretty crazy. And here I think I'm almost forced to just Lurrus for stock up, which is my least favorite play of all time, because you really suffer a lot from just using your mana in that way, but there's really no other way to get it there. And I am feeling very threatened right now. Like I'm digging for a force desperately, pretty much. I grab Brotherhood's End because it feels like I'm gonna just empty this board. I play Saga first, and here I was thinking a lot about it, because I could just grab Delta and then untap if I survive, right? Play Saga and clear the board of artifacts, and then just play with the Saga. Or if there's too many creatures, I can just clear it up. But the reason for Saga is that I don't think I'm going to make constructs. My opponent has 2 cards in hand, and I don't think that I want to make constructs, or that I'm going to make constructs, especially because now I have 2 tokens that blocks 2 times. It's like very, very difficult to get through. I want to get Needle as soon as possible to Needle this Vault. And if I do that, I can just go Brotherhood's End, destroy all the creatures, and then Needle the Mana Vault. But there's also the thing that I'm missing from here is that now I am not going to have Force of Negation up hardcast, right? So I have to pitch it. Flash Raker I cannot force, so it enters. And then here, my opponent has 1 card left in hand. I feel like the ring is sufficiently dangerous that I go, and I'm like, okay, well, if last card has to be exactly the key, and it's key, and I die. The reasoning is, again, as follows, like the same. It's basically like, okay, well, if it's not key, then I can just blow up all the creatures, and then next turn, if I dodge again, I can use the Time Vault, especially because with just Jet, they cannot Tezzeret kill with the Time Vault, but our opponent does very well, and so we're going to play, hoping for a better hand, but this hand is very much impossible to keep. I think all of my blue is held up on this pedal. I mean, it's keepable, sort of. I don't think that I can, especially because if they mind break trap this Lurrus, let's say it's just like catastrophic, and I need to, like, literally there's nothing happening, right? I'm just like not dying for a couple turns. I think that I can do better. This is not better. And this is like the, you can keep these hands. Here I'm just going to put back Chain and Force, just so that I can defend a couple times. I go for Ancestral, play Land Pass. But this is looking very rough. Here I cannot let this Tezzeret resolve, or I'm just going to get clapped because they have, what's his name? They can go for Bexy Bubble, untap, play. Like, this Tezzeret is going to be a nightmare, so get rid of it. And here my opponent plays Cage, and I am going to mind break trap it, and this is wrong. And it's wrong because I don't care about this mind break trap. I'm grafting against Cage. I'm so far away from death, and also from comboing, and also this Brotherhood's End is kind of like my way out. I'm going to get red from here, so this mind break trap is like too crazy. In fact, if I had kept it, I would have gone for this key. Regardless, I go for the Volk and really praying for like either Mox Ruby or like Time Walk or like even a Mana Drain or something. We'll draw the worst card in the deck, which is Brain Freeze. And here we just get Time Vaulted and it's over. And so very fast kills from both me and him. I went fishing way sooner than I had to, and I killed him. And they got us turn 2 on the play and on the draw both times. So, it is what it is. On those, I think we got very good draws from our deck and very bad from our opponents all throughout Swiss. So at some point, the luck is gonna have to go out. The only inflection point, I think, decision that I had this game was maybe if I want to try and keep this atrocity. Let me know if you would have kept it. I think it's just too much. Although it just so happens to be okay. But I also felt like if I go Pearl Ruby Petal Pass, then and I brought Hood's End, then that gets rid of all my mana. So what am I doing? I can't even mana drain, so this gets pitched, and this Hercules is like, Hercules is good to just stop, like, when you got to go for it, but like this is just like ridiculous. Although against this hand that they played, maybe it was good. I don't know. I don't think this is keepable, and the second one obviously isn't either. This one is also obviously impossible to keep. And so, yeah. Anyway, that's basically all there is to it for this one. Going back to the deck, I'm kind of starting to think about, making small adjustments. The Wan-Shi Tong did what I wanted it to do, sort of. In the matchups where I wanted it and I had it up, I could have used it and it would have been fine. Not sure. Honestly, it's like a fun off, and it's also like good to have like another win con in a way, but I might just prefer the 4th mana drain. The Soul Guide was fine, but I am missing now that there's a lot more frog going on. Whether I want Pyroblast again instead and just kind of like do this like this like change here. The sideboard I feel definitely needs to start changing a little. There's a lot of Raker. I feel. So maybe some of these things have to change to add for Consign to Memories. Maybe one of these dress downs can go, especially if we are playing Wan-Shi Tong, our Mono White Initiative matchup gets better. So maybe the second dress down can go. And then, maybe we just cut one of the sideboard. Like it's very difficult to go under 6, because this one is also here. And there's 6 graveyard hate for dreads, because it's very difficult to win that matchup without a lot of hate. But maybe that's where it is. I don't know. At the same time, I feel like our opponent had very, very good hands on the last matchup, this last match. And maybe just like on flip, I've only played Raker I think 3 times with this deck, so I'm not an expert. Maybe just like pilot error, and I need to play it better. So yeah. Anyway. Thank you so much for sticking up if you have been here for the whole video. Leave us some comments, some likes. We'll start streaming challenges, so also follow us on Twitch. You can find the link in the description, and we'll see you guys later.